get back to work.
I'm winning, that's all I'm saying. Good evening, good afternoon, or good morning, depending where you are in the world. Time doesn't move when you're under a table.
Nope. We don't have a clock down here, so we don't know what time it is even.
That's why it's the best place, isn't it?
Yeah, the best place. It's like a movie house. When you go to the movies, the sun's up and you come out and the sun's down. You're just like, what happened? I don't understand.
I will say I own blackout curtains, so that's pretty much my life in my home. Every now and then, because like where my TV is directly where the sun reflects on it. So unless you close the curtains, you can forget about playing games or watching something in the day. It's just not going to happen.
So they're always
closed.
So
every now and then, I'll close the curtains to watch something. And then I'll be like, oh, you know what? Let me go get some sunlight. Open up the curtains and it's dark outside. And I'm like, but how did this happen?
It's dark outside and
it was light when I closed
it's 3 weeks later as well.
Can confirm or deny nothing. Might have eaten, might have showered.
We don't know.
Can confirm or deny nothing.
Sometimes Arielle goes missing and then she just reappears.
Yeah, out from under the table.
Just like that. Yeah.
Gollum.
Well, yeah.
Okay, so to start this episode off, I thought we would read an email that we received.
An email.
You've got mail.
Because you know we are so popular, we're receiving fan mail from across the globe.
Across the globe, yes. Okay, read it.
So let me hope I pronounce this name right. Laura De Paula.
De Paula?
Who knows? Guys, like, it took me so many years to pronounce my own name and surname correctly. Like, it is not a talent I have. Hell, I even had a friend for like 10 years before I learned his name. It was so bad. Like, I could recognize him anywhere. We had done things together. We had gone on trips together. But could I remember his name whenever I wasn't talking to him? Nope, I could not. I won't say what his name is because he might listen, but somewhere out there, all of my friends can reflect and be like, was it me? Did she ever say my name to my face?
Okay, Lara.
Yes. Hey there. I laughed at this episode of Under the Table. I mean, of course she did. Like, does she even need to say that? But thanks for telling us what we already know.
Sure.
Fun stuff. Also, just so you guys know, I actually own the trademark on chicken nuggets of wisdom in the US. Isn't this a great way to start a Monday? Thanks for connecting. I enjoy your content and I will stay a reader and a viewer. My days of journalism and professional writing are behind me. I am semi-retired. I opened up a medical spa 3 months ago. My nugget for you is that you keep up the good work and feel free to use the term. I shut down my website and social channels for Chicken Nugget of Wisdom 3 years ago. I just happen to still get the Google alerts. Keep up the good work.
Thanks, Lara. It's interesting how you went from Chicken Nuggets of Wisdom to writer
to a medical spa.
A medical spa, but hey, I mean, maybe she still sells chicken nuggets at her spa. I mean, I would go to that spa. I'm gonna be honest. I could sit in a jacuzzi, eat chicken nuggets all day, and just like sit around wise people.
Okay, you're literally mentioning heaven right now. Why is that such an appealing thought?
Laura, if you sell chicken nuggets at your spa, let us know. We'll be there.
But like sitting in a hot tub and eating chicken nuggets appeals to both the fat kid and the lazy kid in me at exactly the same time.
Double whammy.
Now, if there was a screen showing a let's play of a video game, all the joy, none of the effort. I mean, come on.
Perfect.
Who doesn't want that?
Okay, or maybe we need like a waterproof controller that we could use while in the jacuzzi.
Next review roundup idea.
Speaking of...
Send us your controllers. We're going to put it in the shower.
Playing games from the shower. You guys would love that. We do also have a controller roundup. that we just did. So if you guys feel like seeing what the best controller is,
And what the worst controller that will potentially sink us out.
your guesses will,
Which controller would that be?
Anyway, we've got the roundup on the website, so go and check it out. 10 whole controllers to choose from.
Yep, and I think we did a pretty good job. I'm not going to lie. Like, it was hard. It was tough. I feel like, so just a tangent here, but especially like we looked at budget controllers. Now, I'm not saying these are like dime store controllers because they're not. They go from, let's say, about 700 Rand to 2,000 Rand. So it's still a considerable amount of money, but it's also a achievable amount of money.
Yeah.
But I feel like, bar for a few standouts, the quality is actually really improved, and it's pretty like great all around. Like personal preference, there's sure like I don't like this, I prefer this, but not one of the not 8 of the controllers were really bad that you're like, no, absolutely not.
No, I agree. I was also very surprised in the quality of like across the board, basically. Like every single one was a really good quality controller. So I'm very impressed with the companies putting out some good quality stuff for gamers.
I remember even just a few years ago, like the first generation PDP controllers that came out. Like their first ever controller. I have one. And I mean, it creaked when you touched it. Like you just had to pick it up and the plastic was like, like the buttons, if you push them down, they're always like stuck. Then you have to like jingle it to get it to come back up.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't a great controller. And yet now we reviewed for PDP controller and it was great.
Yeah.
It was wonderful.
It's a good controller. I mean, it's, good job.
Controllers have improved, guys.
Yeah.
Like,
good job, controller
really
guys.
impressed. So, what? Okay, so let me tell you how I got on this, and then I'll ask you my question. I have been playing to review. I'm not going to spoil my review, but I've been playing to review Final Fantasy 16. Spoiler, after I just said I wasn't going to spoil, it's so good.
I'm not going to spoil it, but I'm just going to say spoiler.
A lot of the conversation on social media surrounding it has been people unhappy because, again, gamers, and they need to whine about everything. We've spoken about this. But being unhappy that a game that comes with a plethora of difficulty settings, when played on casual, is too casual and too easy.
Okay.
So I guess my question is for you. What is your opinion on the link to enjoyment and difficulty? Does a game need to be difficult to be enjoyable, or don't you care?
So the TLDR is I don't care, because games are made for a variety of different reasons. If you want to play something casual after a long day of work, or even just like whatever it is, but if you're stressing, you don't want to deal with something difficult, you can jump on a game that's nice to play and easy to play, and it's not going to stress you out more than that,
Yeah.
But if you want something that's sweaty, then give me the option.
Dark Souls exists.
Yeah, exactly. Souls-like games. So just if the game is too casual for you, then I don't know, maybe it's not the game for you. But casual games need to exist. So
here's my thing. 100%. And I like difficulty settings. I enjoy them. I like them if the developers choose to include it. Because for me, I mean, we play a lot of games. And we have to get through games at a relatively fast pace.
Speedrunners.
We try our best. We try our best. So, to put me in a game with nightmare difficulty and have me die every 2 minutes is just a frustration beyond, because I want to get through this. I want to see what the end game mechanics are. I want to see where the story goes. I don't want to repeatedly die on the same damn steps again and again and again
and you'll
again.
probably stop the review. You'll be like, this game's ridiculous, you know.
But I mean, that's for me. I know there are people out there where that is all they want from a game. That excites them out of a game. So, like, I don't really think one is right or one is wrong. I'm a campaigner for accessibility in games.
Yeah.
So if you allow me to play a game in noob mode, I am so happy. Like, happy camper Arielle.
Yeah, so put the option in there.
Hey guys, looking around the office, can't see you, so yeah, I've just got a quick question. I've been playing some games with a 10-year-old recently. She's just got into gaming, absolutely loves it. We have a lot of fun with Among Us and Fall Guys. But what are the other cool games that kids will enjoy and adults will also have a good time playing? You know, stuff that's not too violent, maybe a good storyline, even just something that's fun to pick up and play a few quick rounds. Especially on the mobile side. Obviously, kids play a lot more mobile games than they do console games these days. Any recommendations? Let me know. Now get back to work.
Well, that's not going to happen.
Okay, we are working. We're working right now. Work. Real life.
You know what? There is nothing more infuriating. Let me have a complaint here. When you work in the gaming industry, I feel like to anybody outside of the gaming industry, your work is not work. It is just a fun little hobby. In terms of, there is nothing more annoying than when your friend has been like complaining about their day and how stressed they are. And you're like, yeah, you know, I had to stay up all night playing Final Fantasy 16. And then they look at you with so much judgment and contempt. Like, why are you even talking?
Yeah.
And you're like, but it's a struggle
It's
too.
the same. It's if you had to work on an Excel spreadsheet all night, it's not my fault that my Excel spreadsheet is Final Fantasy.
It's more fun and prettier. Like,
But look, not all games are great games, so there are times where it's a slug. So anyway, fun games for kids that you can play with adults. You go.
okay, I have so many. I don't know why you were even like, you guys have so many. So I have so many, I had to write them down in a book. Okay, so my general opinion on this is anything designed by Nintendo is just great. Like, Nintendo is one of those companies where their games are easy enough and bright enough and appealing enough that kids will love it. And they're also great for adults.
True.
So on the Nintendo thing, it's like Mario Kart, any of the Mario games. I mean,
Even Wario.
Animal Crossing.
Yeah, Animal Crossing.
I mean, that's not like Nintendo, but Animal Crossing was great. Like, brilliant game. Dreamlight Valley, which was basically Stardew Valley, but for Disney characters, great. It Takes Two is an amazing game, regardless of age. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's a very saturated group
Nintendo,
of games, actually.
Yeah. I mean, but then you both need a Nintendo console, or maybe just one Nintendo console, because, you know, gatekeeping. But, I mean, maybe Little Big Planet with the Sock Boy, that's a good one.
Such a good game.
Yeah, that's a good game. And you can co-op in the later ones, which is a lot of fun as well.
Yeah, sure, co-op. You can grab your friends and you can throw them off a cliff. It's so much fun.
I mean, they're just made out of
You
beans.
think you're going to beat me there, grab you, throw you. Now you know how me and Larry played that game.
No toxicity involved. Little Big Planet. The one I was thinking of, I can't remember it now. Was it The Tale of Two Brothers or something? Something along those lines. Two brothers.
Oh, it's called Brothers, and then it's a tale of Oh, I know which one you're talking
But
about.
that's a fun one because it's 2-player and you need both of yourselves to get through the level. Like you have to utilize each
Similar
other.
to Unravel.
Yes, exactly. So that one is quite fun because it can be a little bit challenging because you need to think about it, but then, it's cool to play together. So, yeah, I picked that. If we can ever remember
So now
the name.
that we're... But while we're kind of on
Mhm.
this, right, here's another tangent for you. Do you remember what the game was that made you fall in love with gaming as a kid? Like, what was that game where you were like, oh, this is for me?
So, I mean, okay, probably one of the very, very first games is Mario. I remember my mom had one of those big, fat, gray Game Boys, the very first one with the, like, green and black screen. And she used to play Mario on that quite a lot. And then we also had an old school Game & Watch Donkey Kong where, like, the little picture would move along the screen. I'm gonna go with those
Yes.
because I suppose if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be playing games. And then mostly Game Boy games from then on. So PC only later on. I'll thank Nintendo.
Okay.
Thank you, Nintendo.
You were the kid I was jealous of because I never had a Game Boy.
That's me.
And all my friends had Game Boys, and I was always like, oh, I really want one.
It was a lot of fun. You missed
But
out.
I think... clearly. But I think for me, it was really point-and-click adventure games. So my mom was heavy into gaming when I was, like, really small. And she had this thick jewel case collection of CDs.
Okay.
And one was for Space Quest.
Oh, Space Quest.
One was for King's Quest. And one was for Leisure Shoot Larry. I started out on King's Quest. I still maintain that I learned to read as well as what I do just so that I could get through that game without constantly having to ask my mom because she wasn't good at the game and she was dragging me down. So I needed to be self-sufficient and learn the skills I needed.
Get rid of the baggage.
And after I finished the King's Quest games, I started playing Space Quest. Finished Space Quest, and my mom was like, you can play the Leisure Shoot Larry games, but if you ever tell your grandparents that I allowed you to play this game, I'm taking away your computer and you're never allowed playing a computer game again. And honestly, like, point-and-click adventures, it just pulled me in.
All I'm thinking is, was Leisure Suite Larry the reason why you are now with a guy by the name of Larry?
I have brought that up so many times.
Never
I
mind
was
what
like,
was the game.
did my mom predict it back in the day?
Yeah, never mind what was the game that got you to gaming. What was the game that got you into your partner?
It got me a Larry.
God.
Oh, that's funny.
But speaking of like old school games, what is your opinion on games and graphics? Like, do we need games that have the most realistic graphics for them to be good games?
Okay, so I don't think it needs to be the most realistic graphics. I do think it needs to be beautiful graphics.
Okay.
So let me explain. Like, I love a lot of pixel art games. I like beautiful pixel art games. So I feel like there's a difference, right? You can have a cheaply made bought asset game.
Yeah.
Or you can have a game where you look at it and you're like, wow, some artist poured their heart and soul into this. And that doesn't mean that it's the most realistic, the most detailed. It's just art that you can see actually had effort behind it. Instead of somebody looking at pre-made things, buying it, throwing it down, and calling it a day.
Yeah, so it's like being creative with like the tools that you're using, because pixel art is basically just a bunch of squares. But if you if you look closely, you can always see, there's like the cape of the guy is just like gently flowing, and then you're like, wow, how did they manage to make
It's so
3
pretty.
squares look like a cape? That's incredible. So, I tend to agree. I don't think we need the best graphics out there for a game to be a good game. I mean, there's so many great games that don't have that. Minecraft is like a super popular game.
A great example.
And it's just blocks.
But even on Minecraft, right? It's just blocks. But there's effort
Yeah,
in,
100%.
right? Those blocks become a world.
Yes, they've creatively, like, you turned a block into a pig or a sheep or a worm. Like, you can actually see what it is.
But then you look at the abomination that was Gollum in the new Gollum. I mean, that wasn't even like, oh, he doesn't look realistic. Like, that was just bad art. Like, there was no love there.
Yeah.
They didn't try and like, this is our interpretation of Gollum. It was just bad.
Yeah. It was like,
And I don't have time for that.
It reminded me of the old like 2000s games where you had like a template and then they just wrapped that template in art or in like the skin, and everything was just stuck down to their face. Yeah,
Yep.
that's what it looked like.
That photo
Yeah.
that just got like warped.
Yeah, exactly like that.
Okay guys, hide and seek is over. I cannot find you, you're too good. Please come out, I need some help. I'm a bit of a noob when it comes to monitors, and I do need a new one myself. But obviously I am on a budget, as most of our readers and viewers will be as well. So what would be the things to look out for in a good budget gaming monitor that would still give us the best gaming experience overall? Thanks, love the show. Ciao.
Good.
Those compliment
Yay.
droplets
Yeah.
just raining down.
Plants growing. Good features for a good gaming monitor. So the way I view monitors is there's kind of like if we're on a budget, there's 2 kind of realms we can be in. There's the high like definition, the high resolution monitor, which is going to give you a pretty view on the game. And then there's like the high FPS guys who just want the highest refresh rate. They're just hunting that refresh rate down. And most of the time, you're not going to get both unless you have a whole lot of money to spend. So, I mean, you've got to first decide what are you buying your gaming monitor for? Are you buying it for the high refresh rate, or are you buying it for the prettiness? And then I suppose it depends on what kind of games you play, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So if you're playing first-person shooters all the time and you don't really mind playing on medium graphics or whatever it is, go with something that's got a bit of a high refresh rate. 120 is probably the minimum you should look at these days. If you're playing...
Sounds about right.
If you're playing pretty games, go for something that's got a nice high resolution. You won't regret it. You won't miss out on the frames anyway, because most of the time those prettier games are running at a lower frame per second. So you can get away with a 60 hertz or 75 hertz monitor if it's got a nice high resolution.
So, I have a 4K Samsung curved gaming monitor.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. It's
Beautiful
great.
monitor.
I'm happy
It's
with
a
it.
beautiful monitor.
Was a gift from my parents. Love it. Can't imagine going back. Larry, who sits behind me, plays on a 4K Samsung TV,
Okay.
which I bought him.
Okay.
His screen is about 15 times my screen size. Costs about a quarter of what my screen does.
Good.
And honestly, our experience is the same. Like, again, there are things, like you said, if you are a dedicated first-person shooter person and you really care about that refresh rate and every frame counts, by all means, you should be saving to buy yourself a good refresh rate monitor. But if you're a casual gamer, right, you're playing League of Legends as your most serious game. The rest of the time, you're literally just playing indies that come out on Steam, living your best life. Go for whichever screen you're most comfortable with.
And don't overlook
Like-
a TV. That's what Arielle's saying. You don't need a
100%.
gaming monitor. You could just get a good TV, which, as she says, is a quarter of the price, and you'll be pretty happy with that as well.
100%. But again, it just comes down to what do you need.
Yeah.
I think that was also something that was prevalent. There we go. In our controller roundup.
Yeah.
It depends on what you need.
Yeah.
If you are looking for a controller to play casually at home, you just want to be able to lie back on the couch, in your gaming chair, on your office chair, play a game, you can get away with the budget controllers, and they're all pretty good. But if you're somebody who's trying to play Street Fighter competitively, you obviously are going to want a more expensive, more responsive, less of a dead zone controller, because that is something you take seriously. So context matters.
Yeah, 100%. So, yeah, depends on what you need. Those will be the options. If you want first-person ultimate high frames, go for something with a high refresh rate. A nice high refresh rate is like 240. I do have 360, and it is nice to see. It's nice to see 300.
Has it improved your gameplay?
100%. 360% actually. I'm a much better gamer. But, 360 hertz is honestly overkill. You don't need that. 240 hertz is a very, high-end refresh rate. Or a 4K TV or a 4K monitor, if you're just a casual gamer looking for some pretty.
100%. And, also, gaming should never get, gaming should just be fun.
Yeah.
I don't like the fact that we've gotten to the point where people feel like there are these barriers to entry with gaming. That you need to have a really expensive monitor. Then you need to have a great keyboard.
Yeah.
Then you need to have a great mouse. Then you need this, then you need this. And eventually, you're at a point with, I'm not even going to bother because I can't afford it.
No one can realistically, not no one, but most people won't realistically have 30,000 Rand to spend on peripherals. Never mind
100%.
the actual console or the PC, so...
And while those things are nice to have, I'm not disputing it. Having a gaming monitor feels good. It's nice. Having an expensive mouse, keyboard, controller, whatever the case may be, they're nice to haves, not necessities.
It will elevate your experience, but you can 100% play the same game with the guy who's got all of that stuff with your entry-level peripherals and still have a great time, honestly.
100%. Anyway, some housekeeping things. As always, we have a WhatsApp number.
Yes.
It's not going to rain for sure, so I won't even
it might
request
pop,
that again.
It will pop up
Are we sure? Do we feel like that's in the editor's wheelhouse, like a pop,
I'll
who
just
knows?
make the sound.
But there is a number somewhere here where you can send us an email, a message, a voice note, whatever it is that you want to send us. The number is here and we are there for you.
We should make a Throne of board game. Instead of Game of Thrones, we call it Throne of Games.